Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike, we are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And welcome to this video where we're going to be playing our very first game of 9th edition of Warhammer 40,000. Probably realised that it's been out for a couple of months by now, but this is our first attempt, mainly because we've been racing to catch up with the end of the magazine, so if you don't know what Warhammer 40,000 Conquest is, there's a whole playlist that we have on it, Partworks magazine, where you've got lots of 40k models. We'll be playing quite a small game, we're only going for 30 power per side because this is our first game, so we want to make sure we concentrate on the rules. And we're going to be playing the very simple mission. It's in the main rulebook, but it also comes with this rules pamphlet you can get from the Games Workshop website for free, so if you want to see the mission you can do that, and I'll obviously go over it in a minute. This won't be an in-depth analysis of any of the changes and new things from the new edition. There are plenty of other people who've done that probably better than we can. We will just point out things that, as they come up, that have changed and how they impact the game. But without further ado, we will have a look at the armies we've come up with and then get on to the battle. Here is our Space Marine army, and I should point out that we are using the updated power values that came out with the release of 9th edition as a document you can find on the Warhammer community website. So Space Marines are mostly the same as the Codex. The Death Guard have some reductions, just to bear in mind.
Yeah, so for my army, it totals up to 29 power, I believe. It's a patrol detachment. We've got a captain in Gravis armour, 2 5-man units of intercessors, a unit of 5 Hellblasters, and a land speeder with the missile launchers and a multi-melter. Bringing the land speeder because it no longer gets the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons, so it might be able to make use of its speed at last. Captain's going to be my Warlord. I'm going to give him Champion of Humanity, which gives him +1 to hit and wound and +1 attacks when he's fighting a character. He also has the Burning Blade to replace his Power Sword, so it's +3 strength, AP -5 and 2 damage. We're also going to be Silver Templars. We're an Ultramarine successor, so during the Tactical Doctrine we don't count as moving. And we're also going to have the Duelists and Master Artisans, Successor Tactics.
And here is 30 power of Death Guard. This is a patrol detachment. Down the front, HQ is a Lord of Contagion. 3 troops choices, we've got 10 Poxwalkers and 2 squads of Plague Marines, 1 with 7 with 2 Blight Launchers and a Icon of Despair, and 1 with 5 with a Plasma Gun. Both squads have champions with Plasma Guns and Power Fists. And finally, a Fetid Bloat Drone with the Plague Splitters. Lord of Contagion will be my Warlord, obviously. We're going to give him the Tainted Regeneration Warlord trait, because it's quite good for keeping him alive. And for his relic, he's going to have Fugaris' Helm, which increases his auras, and that's useful because I'm going to spend a command point at the beginning of the game for Harbinger of Nurgle, which gives him a 6-inch aura of rerolling 1s to hit, but increased to 9 inches thanks to the relic. And I'm going to make these part of the Poxmongers Plague Company. Obviously I'm not using the Warlord trait or relic from it, but there are a couple of stratagems that I might be able to use on the Bloat Drone. One that lets it regain wounds if it kills models in melee, and another one that lets it fall back and shoot, which you can no longer do in the new edition with flying units, so that might be useful for that. Here is our battlefield that we have set up. Now this is an incursion level game because our total combined power ratings are 60, and we're using 2 of the battle maps from Conquest magazine, and that 2 of those together is ever so slightly larger than the minimum battlefield size. So this works out about 45 by 35 inches, so just a few inches larger. We've got quite a lot of terrain on it. I'm not going to go over all of it in every detail, but basically we're using all of the rules as recommended in the 9th edition rulebook for different things, so I'll just quickly go over what they are. Over on the mechanics board we've got some armoured containers over there. The tank trap in the middle is battlefield debris. Hemotrip Reactor I'll come back to in a second because that's the only one that doesn't really fit nicely. We've got this large gantry in the middle, that is industrial terrain. The key part for that is that if it blocks line of sight, basically you're up -1 to hit for shooting. It has a couple of other effects as well, which we'll mention if it comes up. The same will go for this plasma regulator down here. The pipes and those boxes there are pipes and barricades, which basically you can fight 2 inches over them. They give you cover if you're within 3 inches behind them. They give you light cover, which is +1 to your armor saves. They're also defensible, which gives you benefits if you're attacked in melee. Moving over to the city board, we have some area ruins there on the left. They need to be 5 inches tall to gain the benefit of the obscuring trait, so they're not going to block line of sight, but if you are inside the footprint you'll get light cover, which is +1 to your armor save, and again defensible, so you get benefits if you're attacked in melee. There's another plasma regulator over here and another armor container. Another barricade there, another area of ruins. And then the Alchemite stack, and the same for the Hemotrip Reactor on the other side, don't really fit neatly into any of the terrain categories. So we've decided we're going to give that obscuring, which is blocked line of sight if you can't draw line of sight to it that doesn't pass through or over the terrain piece. And also, it's an obstacle, and it has light cover, so if you're within 3 inches of it and partially obscured by it, then you will get +1 to your armor save. And that only works for infantry. And the mission we're playing is called Only War, and as I said at the beginning, this is the one that comes in the rules pamphlet you can get online for free. There are 4 objectives. You can see we rolled off to place them. We've got 2 up here and 2 down here. The objective is to have the most victory points at the end. There is 1 victory point available for Slay the Warlord if you kill the enemy's Warlord, and then at the end of your command phase, which is a new thing for 9th edition, you gain a victory point for every objective you hold, and you hold an objective by having the most models in 3 inches of it. The recommended objective size is a 40mm circle, but we don't have anything like that, so we're just going to measure from the centre of each objective instead. That affects both players equally, so it doesn't really matter, but it's not quite what's recommended in the book. And we will roll off for deployment, and then after we've deployed, we roll off to see who goes first. So we'll roll for deployment, and then we will deploy, and then we'll come back and show you that once that's all been done. And we've completed our deployment, so I'll show you the Space Marine first. Got the Hellblasters down here, and some Intercessors next to them, and the Captain behind. And in the far corner, another 5 Intercessors there in those ruins. And the Land Speeder is behind this Alchemite stack. And then for the Death Guard, we've got 10 Poxwalkers down here behind the pipe here. The Bloat Drone next to them. And there are 5 Plague Marines on top of the gantry, which will give them -1 to be shot at. And finally 7 Plague Marines down here behind the gantry, hopefully heading over towards that objective. And the Lord of Contagion is in the Teleportarium. And then we roll off to decide who goes first or second, or to see who gets the choice. I got 2.
5. Might as well go first.
So we'll go on to Space Marines turn 1. And because this is an incursion level game, we start the battle with 6 command points each, but as mentioned before, I'm down to 5 because I spent 1 to give the Harbinger of Noble ability to Lord of Contagion. At the start of the first battle round, the Devastator Doctrine is active. A new thing in this edition is at the beginning of your turn you have the command phase, which basically is things that happen at the start of your turn. At the start of the command phase, a Battleforged army gains the Battleforged command point bonus, so the Space Marines go up to 7 command points. And at the end of the command phase in this mission, we score victory points for objectives controlled. Obviously, the Space Marines don't control any yet, so on to their movement phase.
So, closer to the camera, the Hellblasters have moved up into the area terrain to take that objective. The Intercessors and the Captain have moved up a little bit, so the Intercessors cover the Captain, and Captain's aura will affect the Hellblasters. Land Speeders come up behind.
2 things to mention there. In 9th edition, not being able to shoot at characters is dependent on them being near a friendly unit of 3 or more models, or a vehicle, or a monster.
So if they're all out in the open, you can shoot at them.
Yeah, and vehicles no longer get the penalty for moving and shooting with heavy weapons. That only applies to infantry now, so the Land Speeder can move and shoot without penalty, which is nice.
And this Intercessor squad, 4 of them have gone into the terrain, and the other guy is just in coherency through the wall, is holding that objective.
So with that, we'll be on to the shooting phase.
So at the start of my shooting phase, I'm going to spend 2 command points to play Rapid Fire on the Intercessor squad in the middle, so they have Rapid Fire 2 for their bolt guns. So I'm going to start shooting with the Land Speeder. It's going to fire 2 crack missiles and the multi-melter into the Bloat Drone. So we've got 2 crack missiles hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s because of the Captain. They both hit. Wounding on 3s. Well, I can reroll that 2 for Master Artisans, so it's 2 wounds. AP -3, but you've got 5+ in wounds.
Yes, because of Devastator Doctrine, but 5+. Failed both. Do you want to start spending command points yet? No, we'll take it.
2d6 damage. 2 and a 3. I'll spend a command point to reroll that 2.
Okay, going down to 4.
4 into a 5, I'll take that.
8 damage. So 8 Disgustingly Resilient on 5+. Only 1, oh dear, 7 damage, down to 3.
And we've got the multi-melter, 1 shot hitting on a 3 rolling 1s, and I've still got Master Artisans, but I hit. Wounds on a 3, it does not, and I can't use a command point reroll anymore.
No, because that is now in the general rules, you cannot use the same strategy more than once in a phase.
I'm going to do the Hellblasters next, and they're going to try and finish off the Bloat Drone, so we're going to overcharge at it. I'll do them individually, so I'll start with Sarge, hitting on 3s rolling 1s, that's 1 hit. One next to him hits, and the next one hits, number 4 hits, number 5 hits. So got 5 hits, wounding on 3s. Wow.
Okay.
Well, I can reroll 1 for Master Artisans at least. That wounded.
And they, again, 5+ invulnerable saves. Made 1. It won't die from this, so I will take the damage. So 2 Disgustingly Resilient, made 1 failed blunt, down to 2 wounds. I think that's its lowest bracket.
Yes. So I'm going to do this Intercessor squad next with Rapid Fire on it, and I'm going to spend another command point to play Steady Advance, so they count as not moving, so they have Bolter Discipline. So I'm going to shoot at this Plague Marine unit. From the perspective of the Intercessors, the one on the end furthest from the camera can just about see this guy without, so they don't get the obscuring bonus, but everyone else will have -1 to hit.
Yes, so we'll shoot him first. I spend 2 command points for Putrid Fecundity, which gives them +1 to their Disgustingly Resilient rolls for the rest of the phase.
There's one guy hitting on 3s, 4 shots, rerolling 1s. Reroll that 1, and I'll use my Master Artisans to reroll that 2 as well, for the sake of it. So there's 4 hits from him, and then 2 batches of 8 for everyone else, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Oh, so that's 7 hits from the first batch of 8. Roll that 1. 5 hits from the second batch, so that's 16 hits in total. And wounding on 5s. Use Master Artisans. So 2 from the first batch of 8. And 1 from the second batch of 8, so 3 wounds.
4 plus. Oh, I made all of them, so that was a waste of my 2 command points, but I guess I'd still rather have Plague Marines than command points.
Finally, this unit will shoot at the Plague Marines on top of the gantry.
Yep, so that's these guys up here. And they will also be at -1 to hit because obviously the floor of the gantry itself does obscure them from their point of view.
5 shots hitting on 4s. 4 hits. Master Artisans. So we roll that 1. Into a hit. 5 hits. Wounding on 5s. Whoa. Master Artisans. 3 wounds.
3, 4 plus saves. Made 2, failed 1. Disgustingly resilient. Oh, I made it, so. But that'll be it. There's no charges or anything, and no morale phase, so be on to Death Guard turn 1. Start of my command phase, I gain a command point going up to 4, and I don't gain any victory points at the end of the command phase because I don't control any objectives yet. First thing we will do is advance with the bloat drone because it's down to a 6-inch move now, so we can't get in range once it does. Going an extra 2 inches. That gets it to there, and the Poxwalkers will advance as well. For an extra 3 inches. The Plague Marine squad on the gantry have moved up normally. They can, and the larger Plague Marine squad have moved up down there around the gantry. And they are within 3 inches of the objective over here. You can just about see that there. And we've played Cloud of Flies on the large Plague Marine squad, so they can't be shot at unless they're the closest target. So that brings me down to 3 command points. And now there are actually 2 parts to the movement phase. So the first part you move your units normally, and in the second part, the reinforcements step, you bring in units like the teleportation for the Lord of Contagion. So he's going to come down there. He's within 3 inches of the Poxwalkers, so he will get the lookout, so benefit from them as long as he's not the closest target. And also the bloat drone for that matter, because it's a vehicle, so it also gains that. And also to note, actually, the Poxwalkers in this edition, if your unit is 6 or more models, then to stay in coherency, every model has to be within 2 inches of at least 2 models from their unit. Obviously, there's no problem with 10 Poxwalkers arranged like that, but it's just something to bear in mind. Onto the shooting phase, I'm going to spend a command point for Overwhelming Generosity on the bloat drone. This increases the range of plague weapons it's armed with by 6 inches, so that will make sure that its weapons are in range of the Hellblasters. So going into 2 command points, and it gets 2d6 automatic hits. 9, that'll do. Wounding on 4s because it's down to strength 4, but rerolling 1s. And a couple of 1s. Rolling. So that's 5 wounds.
We've got 5 3 plus saves because we're in light cover, so it negates the AP -1. Failed 1. Hellblaster takes a wound.
I'm going to shoot with these Plague Marines on top of the gantry next. They will also put everything into the Hellblasters. And I'm actually going to spend my last 2 command points on these Plague Marines. The first one will be on Virulent Rounds, which makes bolt guns plague weapons, and on an unmodified 6 to hit, they're AP -4. And the second is on Relentless Volleys, which makes bolt guns rapid fire 2, and they are all within 18 inches, so being Death Guard, getting 4 shots per bolt gun. And it's 1 command point for 5 models, it'd be 2 command points for 6 or more. And another slight change in 9th edition is I do have to declare that my plasma guns will be overcharging when I declare what they're shooting at, not when I shoot with the models, so they will be overcharging. 12 shots with bolt guns. I'll do these first because there's a Hellblaster on a wound. Hitting on 3 rolling 1s because the Lord of Contagion is nearby. 2 2s and a 1. Reroll into another 1, so 9 hits. Wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s because they mix them plague weapons. There's 1 1 and 1 6. So there's 5 normal wounds and 1 at AP -4.
6 plus from the AP -4 shot. Not quite. 5 2 plus. Failed 1 as well.
So that's it so far. And we've got the plasma guns hitting on 3 rolling 1s. I've got to do them 1 at a time, so we do the champion first. He gets 2 hits, and the normal man gets no hits and 1, which I can reroll into a hit. So 3 hits. Wounding on 2s. They all wound.
5 plus saves. Made 1. I'll reroll 1.
Okay, going down to 2 command points.
No, so 2 dead Hellblasters.
So it takes out the wounded one, and another one takes 2 damage. And finally, we've got the big Plague Marine squad. They advanced, so I can only shoot the Blight launchers, but they'll shoot the Hellblasters as well. We'll try and get rid of them. And no penalty for advancing and firing because we're Death Guard. And also, I should point out, you don't get -1 to hit from cover you're actually in, if it's dense cover. So hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s because they are just within 9 of the Lord of Contagion. I deployed them in the right place. 4 hits. Wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, all wounded.
4 plus saves. Maybe fill 3, so you'll have to roll them individually.
Yeah, so first one does 1 damage.
Well, this one does 1 damage, and then the next one will kill that Hellblaster.
And then the final one only does 1 damage, and I don't have the command points, so the last Hellblaster is down to 1 wound.
Charge lives.
But that's all I can do, that's all my shooting, and obviously I'm not in range to charge. Hellblaster Sergeant does have to take a morale test because he lost 4 friends and he's leadership 8.
So on a 4 or less he's good. Oh, 6, re-roll.
And they shall know no fear.
No.
Oh, he shall know fear. So Hellblaster Sergeant runs away. But with that, we'll be on to Space Marines turn 2. Start of the second battle round, move to the Tactical Doctrine, because you have to. Beginning of the command phase, gain command point. End of the command phase, gain 1 victory point for holding 1 objective.
So my movement phase, the Intercessor Squad and the Captain are going to move to replace the Hellblasters. Landspeed is going to stay where it is, and this Intercessor Squad is going to stand still. At the start of the shooting phase, I'm going to play Rapid Fire on this Intercessor Squad. 2 command points, down to 1. So we're going to shoot at this large Plague Marine squad because they're definitely the closest unit, and this guy isn't obscured by anything.
No, in fact, I think there are at least 2 Plague Marines there who aren't obscured.
Yeah, possibly this guy at the back as well. So.
Yeah, technically I could remove those, but I think it's unlikely you're going to kill 3 Plague Marines, so we'll just say none of them have -1 to hit, it just speeds everything up.
So we'll have 20 shots hitting on 3s. Wow, that's pretty bad. Well, Master Artisans, wow. So 3 hits from the first 10. And 5 from the second. So wow, good job, lads. Wounding on 5s. Master Artisans, 2 wounds. 2.
Yes, so in Tactical Doctrine, so 5 pluses. Made 1, failed 1, disgustingly resilient. Oh, that's 1 dead Plague Marine.
So Landspeed is going to go, it's just going to put everything into the bloat drone and try and get rid of it. It's hitting on 3s. Rolling 1s, both hit. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds.
5 plus. Made 1, failed 1.
D6 damage. 4.
Ignoring on 5s. Oh, ignore 2, but it's only got 2 wounds, so it goes down. And it might explode on 4 plus. No, it doesn't. So the bloat drone is destroyed.
Finally, the Intercessor Squad doesn't count as moving because we're an Ultramarine successor, and we're going to shoot at the Poxmongers. 10 shots hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. So I can re-roll those 2 1s and the 2 for Master Artisans. 8 hits. Wounding on 3s. Master Artisans re-roll that 1. 8 wounds.
No cover out here, so 5 plus disgusting resilient. Made 3. That's 5 Poxmongers dying. We'll take these ones who are not near the objective. But that's it for Space Marine turn 2. On to Death Guard turn 2. Start of my command phase, I gain a command point, and end of my command phase, I gain 2 victory points because I hold 2 objectives. Start over this side, the 6-man Plague Marine squad now has moved up. They're obviously still holding that objective, advancing towards the other one potentially. Plague Marines on the gantry have just moved up to the front so that they're all in range of stuff. Poxwalkers have moved into the cover of this barricade over here, but still all within 3 inches of the objective. And the Lord of Contagion is going to advance because it would be a mighty long charge to try and make into the Hellblasters, so just might as well advance him up. So he halves this because he's in Cataphractii armour, so an extra 2 inches, he goes 6. So that gets him to there, and he is just about within 9 inches of all the Plague Marines as well, thanks to his enlarged aura because of his relic. And on to shooting. We'll shoot the Plague Marines on the top of the walkway first. I'll put everything into the land speeder, and I will supercharge the plasma guns. I won't spend any stratagems at this point though. The plasma guns 1 shot each. Champion, 3s rolling 1s, that's a hit, and the other guy gets a hit. These wound on 3s. No, and 3 bolt gun shots. They all hit on 3s. Wounding on 5s. Oh, there's a wound. There you see.
3 plus save. We're okay.
And the other big squad of Plague Marines. I'm going to put the blight launchers and the plasma gun into the land speeder. And all the bolt guns are going into the intercessors in the ruins over here, and I will spend another command point for virulent rounds to make their bolt guns plague weapons and give them AP -1/6 wound. Blight launchers hitting on 3s, rolling 1s, they all hit. Wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, they all wound.
5 pluses. No, that's 10 die.
No, let's say 43 damage. Yeah, that's enough to destroy it. It doesn't blow up on the 2, so it is destroyed. But I just do have to roll for the champion because he does technically still shoot. You can opt to not shoot, but I did opt to shoot with him, so does still need to try not to blow up. So 3s rerolling 1s. Oh, they both hit, so no dead champion. And all the bolt guns on the intercessors. 3s rerolling 1s. That's a 1. So 4 hits. And 4s rerolling 1s. 6s AP -4. That is a 6 and 1. That's the only wound.
6 plus. Nope. Intercessor 6 wound. I'm taking it on the guys in the ruins.
Well, that's all for Death Guard turn 2. On to Space Marines turn 3.
So again a command point and 2 victory points.
Holding 2 objectives. Yep. Staying in the tactical doctrine, I presume.
Yep. And I'm not going to move at all. So I'm going to play rapid fire on this intercessor squad.
Okay, that's 2 command points.
Yep. Going to start with this intercessor squad. And they're going to shoot at the Plague Marines with the blight launchers. We've got 10 shots hitting on 3s. And I can reroll 1 1 for Master Artisans, 7 hits. Wounding on 5s, and Master Artisans, 3 wounds.
AP -2, Tactical Doctrine. Failed all 3 saves, and 3 disgusting units in it. Failed 2, so 2 die. Maybe these bolt guns at the back.
And the other squad of intercessors is going to shoot the same squad. So they have 20 shots, I'll do 2 batches of 10. First batch of 10 hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. 9 hits. Second batch of 10. I can reroll that 2 because of Master Artisans. So that's 18 hits in total. So I'll do 2 batches of 9, wounding on 5s. So 3 so far. Reroll 1 for Master Artisans, nope. Second batch of 9. That's another 3, so 6 wounds.
5 plus armor saves, made 2. 5 plus resilient times 4, made 2, so 2 more go down. So we'll lose the Icon of Despair and this one, I suppose.
And finally, the captain's going to fire his Bolt Storm Gauntlet at the Poxmongers. 3 shots hitting on 2s, rolling 1s. You'll hit. Wounding on 3s.
Nothing.
Master Artisans, 1 wound.
Yeah, I do actually get cover from this because I'm behind a barricade, so light cover. Give me a 6+ save. Oh, I made it. Okay. No charges, but onto the morale phase. These Plague Marines over here have to take a morale test. They lost 4 this turn. Leadership 8, 5 or 6 is bad. 4 is fine. And that's it for Space Marines turn 3, on to Death Guard turn 3. My command phase, I gain 1 command point and 2 victory points going up to 4. Movement very straightforward. Lord of Contagions moved up, heading into the ruins. Squad of Plague Marines that were up here have moved down the ladder and down the walls and stuff. And these 2 Plague Marines have moved over there. From there they might get cover from these intercessors because these armoured containers do provide light cover and they are obstacles. So if you're obscured around the corner a bit, you might get cover. On to the shooting phase, we'll do those Plague Marines first. They'll fire at these intercessors over here. We won't supercharge the plasma gun at this point. So we do the Blight Launcher first. 2 shots on 3s, 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, rolling 1s, that's 1 wound.
4 plus. Nope. Wounded man dies.
2 plasma shots on 3s, both miss. Other squad of Plague Marines, we're going to shoot everything at the same intercessors, and all but this bolt gun man at the back are in rapid fire range. Plasma guns will supercharge. We'll do the champion first. 2 shots on 3s, rerolling 1s. They both hit. And other man, also 2 hits. Wounding on 2s, 3.
5 plus. Yeah, nothing.
Man holding the objective is the only one left. And 5 shots from bolt guns on 3s, rerolling 1s. 1, 3, 4 hits. Wounding on 4s, 2.
3 plus for the man in the open. Move on, failed 1.
On to the charge phase. The Lord of Contagion will charge the intercessors, and in 9th edition, Overwatch is not automatic. You have to spend a command point to use stratagem to Overwatch. Space Marines haven't got any command points. Ruins are defensible terrain, so that means if you're charged when you're in them, you have a choice. You can either hit on 5s in Overwatch, or you can get +1 to hit in the subsequent fight phase if you're charged. Obviously you can't Overwatch, so you might as well go for +1 to hit in the fight phase. Now rolling up our charge, 8 inches is enough. We'll charge in like that, and not within 3 inches of the captain, so he can't heroically intervene. Not that he can get through anyway, but it means he doesn't get any extra movement. And I won't bother piling in, we'll stay there. So he has 5 attacks because he charged, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s thanks to himself. That's 5 hits and a Death of the False Emperor for an extra 1, which also hits. 6 hits, wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. 6 wounds.
6 plus saves. Yeah.
No, that's 3 damage each. Okay, I won't consolidate because I am holding the objectives, so there's no need. Didn't catch on camera, but yeah, he rolled a morale test, so he runs away. Morale phase.
And then I'm just going to concede.
Yes, at the end of Death Guard turn 3, there is 1 Space Marine model left on the board. So definitely a Death Guard victory. 4 victory points to 3 at the moment, but obviously I can now basically hold all the objectives without contest, and the captain is the only one left. We'll recap all of that for you now. So that was our first game of Warhammer 40,000 9th edition. How do you think that went?
Not particularly well.
No.
I think I did make some mistakes. I probably should have moved the land speed. It probably could have moved out of range and not been killed. Probably would have been better to get rid of your Poxwalkers as well. To force you to move to turn objective, but I don't know if that would have made any difference.
Yeah.
I think I did the usual, get lots of hits and not very many wounds is the problem.
Well, it felt to me like since we've had a few of these battles in the past, Space Marines versus Death Guard, you shoot the Death Guard, they don't die, they shoot you back harder. When you're wounding on 5s, sometimes you can roll a whole lot of nothing.
And even with rapid fire, like 3 rounds of rapid fire amounted to about 5 dead Plague Marines. It wasn't worth it. Yeah, also as well, the Death Guard benefited a lot from having lower power costs.
Yeah, if we'd been doing this with the power costs before the update, it would have been, my army would have been 35 power, so I would have had to drop 2 Plague Marines from the big squad and all Poxwalkers to be 30
I think
power.
it would have been a lot different.
Yeah, I mean, for a start, you shot some Poxwalkers at one point, there wouldn't have been there, and there wouldn't have been as many Plague Marines.
Yeah.
In fact, I think you got that squad of Plague Plague Marines down to 2, so they would all have been dead instead.
Yeah, that would have been...
Yeah, it would have been really significant. A couple of games we've done with the more recent Space Marine rules, showing that perhaps the Death Guard power was a bit high because it hadn't been changed.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it might end up going back up again because I suppose all the Marines are going to gain a wound, but...
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see when they eventually bring out a new Death Guard codex, I suppose. But
so it'll be interesting to see how close the points were. See whether power is actually still as unbalanced as it could be. Yeah, and also putting a massive structure that gives everyone under or around it or on it -1 to hit. Probably not a good idea to put that in somebody's deployment zone.
No, in hindsight. I mean, I think the one time the -1 to hit came into effect, I think you got a lot of hits anyway.
Yeah, it did roll well then.
Yeah, but I think we probably could have set up the terrain a little bit more evenly.
Yeah.
I mean, one problem we had actually is that the ruins have obscuring, which is the thing that blocks line of sight, but it specifies in the rules that it has to be 5 inches tall or more. So if we'd been using taller ruins, you would have been able to actually hide behind them and I couldn't see your units.
Yeah, it looks nice on the board, but it isn't particularly balanced.
Yeah. There is a section in the 9th edition rulebook about how to set up a board as well, and it talks about the sort of amount of terrain you ideally would want, and the fact that if you have less or it's set up in a certain way, it would advantage armies that shoot more.
Yeah, I think also the way the objectives are set up, basically just going to line up and shoot each other. I wouldn't like to play a larger game on a board this size. 50 power would probably be over really quickly. 50 power worth of one side that basically starts in range, where you would need line of sight blocking terrain.
Yeah, and that's what they say, and you should really have some stuff in the middle to block line of sight. Otherwise, particularly as you say, a shooting army that starts in range can just open up in the first turn, and it's not much fun for the other player then.
I do like the change that you get a command point at the start of every turn, so you can actually use stratagems later in the game.
Oh, definitely. And the fact that we start with 6 with only 30 power worth of stuff, that's because we were just above the threshold for... So with 25 power per side, you get 3. Well, I certainly blew all of mine in my first turn. But yes, I agree, definitely getting command points later is good. Actually, yes, but speaking of command points, almost all the stratagems I used were from the new Psychic Awakening book, and they are quite good on that whole. But in terms of other new rules, I think the terrain rules are more complicated, certainly, but I guess they're much more interesting. It's much more than just you get +1 to your armour save. There's all sorts of different effects. The downside is there are more of them to remember, and also some of them make you basically do things like roll one model at a time for shooting if you set up in a strange way, whatever, or depending on line of sight and which models you can see, which just slows the game down, so that's a little bit of a downside. Other things, obviously, the land speeder can now move and shoot without penalty.
Oh, yes, and
finally,
a nice bonus to that.
Complained about that at the time we got the land speeder, is it doesn't really do its job.
It's a really fast unit, couldn't make the best use of its speed.
And there are other things we didn't see, like vehicles can shoot at things they're engaged in melee with. Obviously that didn't come up. New coherency rules again didn't really come up.
I guess the other thing is how you can shoot at characters if they're not within 3 inches of a friendly unit.
Yeah,
I like as well. Got a couple of morale tests, but
you only had one model left. If you'd had more than one model left, then what would happen is you would have lost one, and then you would have to roll dice for all the rest. And on ones and 2s, if they're below half strength, then additional models would have run away. So that's quite a major change.
Well, I mean, it would stop a unit like cultists getting completely obliterated. So 1 is always a success as well.
You have to spend a command point to Overwatch now. It probably wouldn't have made much difference in this game because there was only one charge if you had been able to Overwatch.
Well, I would have been hitting on 5s though. Yeah,
that's true because of the terrain rules. If nothing else, it just speeds up the game because you're not rolling a ton of dice that are going to do minimal damage every time a charge happens. It also means you've got to decide when you really want to Overwatch, whether you think it's going to be effective. There's a couple of other new stratagems as well, which are mostly for falling back, actually.
It's like causing mortal wounds to units that fall back, or falling back a unit that's completely surrounded.
And also emergency getting out of a vehicle that's been surrounded. You can't get all the models out, you can spend command points to hopefully save them.
Other stuff like if a unit heroically intervenes, you can choose to attack it, so you have to think a bit hard about whether you do that. Some weapons have the blast traits, they get a minimum number of hits on units of certain sizes.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you've only played Warhammer Conquest, it's pretty easy to get it other than the terrain rules, but the terrain rules are technically optional. They are in the rules pamphlet, but you don't really need to use them. You could just use the ones from the magazine, really.
Yeah, I think it would be pretty easy to pick this up just from having come from the magazine. It's not a huge jump, it's mostly tweaks that I think overall probably improve the rules set a bit. And as I said at the beginning, you can download the rules pamphlet for free from the Games Workshop website, and that does come with this mission, so if you did want to play a basic starting mission like we've just done, then you can do that for free. It has the complete rules set, so you can see all the changes
except for the terrain.
Except for all the complicated terrain rules.
And you can find the updated power values as well by searching for FAQs. You just wouldn't have the new stratagems for either side if you didn't have the Codex, Space Marines or War of the Spider.
Yeah, I think that's all we have to say for now. Obviously, we're playing with these rules from now on in when we do 40k games, so we'll continue to explore some of the new stuff and how it affects the game. Do let us know your thoughts on the new edition, on games you've played so far. We'll be interested to hear your experiences, particularly if you are a subscriber to Conquest, and how it's affected the armies you've been collecting. And as I said as well, let us know if we did make any mistakes, because these are new rules to us. It's quite possible we got something slightly wrong, so do let us know so we can improve. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.